Welcome to Roll for Crit Spotlight. I'm Jonathan Estes.
And I'm Will Keeler.
And Spotlight is the series in which we invite members of the tabletop gaming world to talk about their experiences and the industry itself. Our guest today is the CMO, that's Chief Marketing Officer, of Asmodee Digital, which has produced countless adaptations of modern board games into the digital realm, including Pandemic, Ticket to Ride, Smash Up, Mysterium, Scythe, many others that you're no doubt familiar with across countless platforms. Please welcome to the show, Philippe Dao.
Yes. So I'm I run the marketing and the sales operation at Asmodee Digital. I'm employee number 2 at Asmodee Digital. I've joined middle of 2015, and it's been a very intense adventure so far, and I like it a lot, especially working with the game creator, working with the development studios, working with the board game studios and all the ecosystem. It's really exciting. I come from the entertainment industry.
Right.
First job was to work for a music label. I had the great opportunity to work on the first album of Daft Punk and Chemical Brothers back in the days, so it was great. And then I went to work for a console game publisher in the UK, and then joined Gameloft, which is a mobile game publisher. Then I spent some time working for a telco called Orange. Then founded my own consulting company specialized in digital strategy, marketing, and then in 2015 I got a call from Asmodee, and I jumped on the train of digitalization of board game. So I would define myself as a casual / mid-core player of board game. So I think I spend days and days playing Seven Wonders, Catan, obviously, and games like Ticket to Ride, Jaipur before actually joining Asmodee. And then now I play more games, obviously, and also keep on playing digital board games, but also video games on PS4 and Switch and other platform like iPad and smartphone. So
that's quite a history. It's quite a pedigree. So we've spoken to plenty of game designers on our show before, but I think that there are many other roles in the industry that are still not as well understood by the general gaming public. Could you explain exactly what your title means? Maybe give an example of what a typical day kind of looks like in terms of your job.
Yeah. So, marketing at Asmodee Digital means many things. The first activity will relate to brand and product. It means what are we going to do to adapt a physical board game to digital platforms. So it's gonna be a work on the game design, a collaboration with the game creator to make sure he understand what we want to do in terms of digitalizing its creation. It will be also analyzing the potential of a digital adaptation of a given game, because you never know. You can assume that if you adapt a bestseller, a board game that is very hot at the moment, or has been a bestseller for 2 decades, that will work. But
right.
The player behaviors, the player habits are different from one platform to the other, from physical to digital, and even among digital platforms, you don't have the same needs and expectation as a player when you play on a smartphone or the play on a Switch, on a PS4. So that means that we have to do a kind of homework with regard to the game design, with the market potential, with some the overall artistic direction that we want to give, because it's not obvious that for every project that we consider, we will go for a straight transposition from the physical game to a digital expression. It could be necessary for a game to change a little bit the rules, to simplify some actions, some part of the gameplay. Otherwise, player on a smartphone, on a Switch will not find get the right experience. Then we have to work. I think the second part will be what we call the go-to-market. So go-to-market is basically very simple to understand, making sure that when you launch a game, that you use all communication tools and channels to make sure that your target audience will be fully aware that the game is out. So it's basically, advertising, publishing posts on social media, making sure that your community on forums, on, special social network like Discord, on the community hub on Steam, are aware that, beta is available, or the early access version of the game, or the final game. So that would be the second activity that is part of the marketing. Then you have what is not so common in the board game industry. I'm talking about the physical part, is what we call the data and the analytics. So in the digital gaming world, we focus a lot on analytics, on collecting as many information as possible on what a player does when he starts playing a game. So, and this is very important to have a great knowledge of what a player would do, because it will give us, the ability to meet his needs and expectation in terms of, does he want a better campaign mode with, more levels, or a more robust AI, for instance, or does the local multiplayer has a great importance versus online multiplayer, or do we need to produce exclusive content for the digital version of a board game, so that people get more hooked on the game? So that's the kind of information and elements that we need to have in our hands to improve and to optimize the overall experience. So that's why this is so important to have a proper analytics and players data team in charge of collecting all this info, analyzing and producing some nice chart and dashboards. And then there are two other activities which are very important. One, I would call it public relation, media relation, and social. So it's basically everything that you do to make sure that you have community of players dedicated and engaged with your games. Players are our clients, so to say. So we need to make sure that they get, the info, they get the privilege to discover game in advance, to get exclusive content, to be part of contests, and to be invited to special events. So, we love our community, and we are very happy when we get a positive feedback on all the actions that we do for the games, and working with media, with key publications, website, and people like yourself is key, because we see you as the perfect ambassadors for our games. So that's why it's important that you have treated as such. And the last thing is, I would say, very important, especially for the digital games world, is the production of what we call the marketing assets. So if you look today, if you look at the trailer that are produced for video games, they are comparable to trailer for movies. And the level of production, the level of sophistication, and the editorial and the content and is so high and so polished now that we need to be at this specific, I would say, level of quality when we have a trailer, announcing the adaptation of Mansion of Madness as an adventure game on PC, or later there will be, some nice trailer about what the Munchkin digital adaptation would be, and so on and so on. So, and we want to make sure that, okay, we come from the board game industry. We are starting from the board game as the basis for the digitalization and the adaptation. But, we are part of the video games industry, so to say. So we need to have, the same trailer that will capture, the audience and, be very exciting to watch, basically, like any other trailer from any other video games.
So you do a lot.
So this is a kind of summary of what the marketing remit is at Asmodee Digital. And the last thing is I will talk about the commercial part. So the commercial is about making sure that your games are distributed on the right platform. So for us, the platform are, Apple, Google, Steam, Nintendo, Sony, and very soon Microsoft. So we work with this major digital games distributor platform, so to say, and our objective is to make sure we understand what they need, in terms of content, and we are very happy that they have an increasing interest for board game, which is great. On Apple you have the board game category, on Google Play as well, but it's going to be the same, hopefully soon on other platform like the console ones, because we see a true and interest and excitement when we are presenting project of like Carcassonne on the Switch or Ticket to Ride for a PS4 Playlink, that they understand that this digital adaptation could work very well on their ecosystem. So that's why it's important that we come up with quality content, but adapted to their players, to each respective players, because the Switch players, as you could guess, we are not the same as the PS4 players and as the Steam players, for instance. Right. And also that we get also the greatest visibility, because you have so much content on this platform. So the commercial aspect is to make sure that we get this visibility through feature placement, through when we are part of dedicated promotion or sales. That is a way to get our content on the storefront, so to say.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, there's a lot to this digital, as you said, just choosing even the right platform and stuff. Do you ever talk with the people who'd make the physical versions of the games, like, and combine your marketing strategies, or are they pretty much the same idea, more or less? Like, does the digital follow its own path compared to the physical?
So we have a lot of synergies, and so collaboration between the physical and the digital. So for instance, in 3 days in the US, in all Target stores, if you buy a physical copy of Ticket to Ride, you will be entitled to get a free version of Ticket to Ride on Steam. So this is the kind of collaboration we have with the physical and the digital. So, and I think it's a virtuous circle, because the more success we have with the digital version of a board game, the better it will be for the visibility of the physical board game, and the other way around. That's why I really like the concept, the idea of virtual circle. And obviously, with regard to the marketing strategy, there are some common paths, common channels. So the one I just described is one of these, but there are some different channels because, when you release a game on the Switch, on a PS4, even on Steam, you have some overlap. So people playing board game are also on Steam, and the other way around. But there are some differences in the way that you want to approach them. So that's why the marketing strategy, I would say, they would differ because because of the difference you find between the players and the audience.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. You had mentioned that before Asmodee, you worked in several other industries, including music with Daft Punk, which I think is very cool. At that time, was the board game industry, physical or digital, something that you were aware of, or how did you come to find out about it and kind of transition between those different career paths?
Yeah, well, I was aware of because I was a heavy player of Catan, and I really, because I really love the social aspect and the fact that you can betray your friends, and you can play hours and nights, and that's really the way I, discovered board games. But but I did not at that time. I also played other games, so it has been a hobby that turned out to be a professional hobby because in all my professional life, I've always wanted to combine. I would say how can I say a personal interest, a passion, and the job. So because I'm also a music fan, but I also like board games for many reasons, not only the social aspect, but also for the strategy and also the educational part as well. It's very interesting for some games. And, it's always the way I've, kind of chose my job. So if I can say that. So,
that's awesome. Yeah.
And the funny thing is it did help me a lot, when approaching, the game creator, the board game creator, because when I was working in the music industry, I also had to work with artists, and in a way, the game creator, you have to understand them, to respect the integrity of their work, to understand their vision and what they want to do, and to explain them, the benefit and the pros and the cons of adapting one of their board game to digital. So that's a learning that I got from my time in the music industry. And some game creators, I'm sure some of them are very demanding and very protective of their work, which is very understandable and very fine. As long as you understand that, I think we can make great projects together.
Yeah, those game designers, they can be an ornery bunch.
Yeah, especially recently. But video games, which as you said, digital board games are very close to them. If you go on to pretty much almost any subreddit for a video game that has multiplayer, you always find people complaining about how it's hard to get the matchmaking working, whether it's just finding people at the same skill level or if there's enough people to play or even dealing with cross-play between platforms or lack thereof. How do you tackle this issue considering most board games are multiplayer?
So we use the lobby. We really believe in the benefit of having a lobby in a game. So it's the best way for the players to discuss, to evaluate among each other about on their skills, on their, if they are at the same level, and to make sure that they can join and play with an equal level. And this system, we always have great feedback from our community, depending on the games. And it's also a way to create a strong sort of social atmosphere, and people, can get engaged on the game, but between each other as well. And I think this is a great way to make sure that the matchmaking is works. And when you think about console board game, I think what is more important for the players, we've done some research, so I'm talking not about some intuition that we have, but from real fact and real people that clearly told us, if I play Carcassonne on the Switch, just an example, I'm not that firstly interested in the online multiplayer mode. I want to be able to play with my friends or my family in the living room in local multiplayer. The Switch console is adapted for that, and I want to experience that. So in that sense, multiplayer matchmaking would make sense, but I would say on a second stage, not on the first stage for a game like Carcassonne on the Switch. And think about Ticket to Ride on PS4 PlayLink. This is also the same. Of course, the PlayLink feature is, I would say, a gift from heaven, because you have to hide the cards when you play Ticket to Ride in a multiplayer game. And PlayLink is about, connecting your phone and using your phone to hide elements, and in this case, the cards. So you can recreate an experience of the game, which is very similar to the physical one. But again, you don't need to have the matchmaking. You will be playing with your friends the same way as you would do on, sitting on a table. So depending on the platform, on the console, the matchmaking has a different level of importance.
Right. And it must be a blessing that at this point that smartphones are very ubiquitous among the cultures, so you can sort of assume people will have it for like PlayLink, as you said, or possibly other things.
Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I know that from some of our games, it's very difficult to we have a community, but which is growing step by step, but not fast enough, so that at any time, if you join a game, that you will find enough people to play with, or you will find the right people with your level, However, we have developed some features like the AI that can replace a missing player, so that you get to play, so you don't have to wait. It's not ideal, but you have to think about the specificity of the game. We're talking about a mobile board game or Steam board game. We want to reach out to as many players as possible, but we won't get a massive popularity, so that for other games that at any time in the world, 24 hours, you can join a great multiplayer game and you will find the right players. That's not going to happen yet. So this is an objective, but for some games it's still, I would say underworks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Considering how hard it is to find sometimes a match in just a regular video game, and as you said, our industry isn't that big yet. Yeah, it can definitely be a challenge.
Yeah, and the cross-play between platform is obviously a feature that we have developed internally, and that we will allow, so that we can accelerate on increasing the community of players, and that we we maximize the chances of someone, joining a multiplayer game, finding the right people to play with, and hopefully between mobile and Steam and on some platform there are some opportunity to play across platform, and even on Catan VR. You heard about the VR game of Catan. You can actually play between the different platforms, on Oculus, on Steam VR. So that's also a way to make sure that we're growing the community as quick as possible, I would say.
Yeah, it must be a blessing. I know, like with some video games, they're afraid of crossplay because having a mouse and keyboard versus a controller can be a pain. You don't probably have to worry about that. But speaking of VR, we're big virtual reality fans here, and we really enjoy the Catan VR. How important is VR for your future strategies? Are we going to see some more games head into the VR world?
Yes, we are working on. We are doing our homework at the moment. So game design homework. Scratching our heads, brainstorming about what would be a great adaptation. So we believe in VR, in AR as well, augmented reality. It's important for Asmodee Digital to have a presence on innovation and to have games content available for players on new platform. We know that VR is still a nascent market; it's not mainstream, but we want to position ourselves, towards innovation and new technology. We know that it will take time, but we want to be, not the last one on this. And today there are not a lot of board game on VR platform. You have Catan, of course, Ascension, and maybe another one. I'm just missing the name right now. And we want to continue adding new features in Catan VR, making sure that the game will also be a classic for VR gamers, and surely make sure that the game will be available on other VR platform. We are working on it on this right now. For other projects, as I said, we are still kind of selecting which game could make sense for as a VR adaptation. It's not final yet, so unfortunately I can't say anything. But what I can say is that there will be other games.
All right, that's a good tease. That's good enough for now.
For sure. Yeah, and one thing you have to know is the success of VR. The fact that VR could one day become very mainstream, I think, lies on the social aspect on VR. And what we found very interesting in Catan VR is the fact that you are in the US. I'm currently sitting in Paris, and we can play. We can join together and play a Catan game together. And we're not physically at the same location, but the immersion will be that I can invite you in my room, and we have avatars. We introduce the hands to give more presence, more physicality to the experience. So, and it makes the whole thing very interesting. People understand that through the VR technology, they discover new experience, which is more immersive, more lively, more human than playing an online game, and just chatting or, speaking on the microphone. That's make the beauty of the project. And what we discovered is, I was talking about, alliance and betrayals. If we play a cat together, I can, when you play together on a table, if I say something to another player, all the player will know But if we play, Catan VR, you don't know what I'm going to say to my ally about strategy to exchange rocks against wood or whatever.
Right. Yeah. No. One of the social aspect is definitely one of the most exciting and cool things about VR. Really, you can feel like you are in a space with someone, even when you are.
Yeah, which for some people is a blessing because, I mean, plenty of times we see online when someone's like, I'd love to play this game, but there's no like game store near me and no one else plays. So the idea of actually being able to just put on a headset and still get that like sitting at a table playing with experience it really gives some more people the chance to play the games they just wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. So you have put out, Asmodee Digital has put out some games of varying difficulty levels in terms of the complexity. You have two upcoming ones, Scythe and Terraforming Mars, which are definitely on the more complicated side. What are the challenges of developing a game with a complex rule set like that, and how do you handle them?
I would talk about many challenges and not one challenge.
Sure.
So we have a challenge in game design, in the user interface, the multiplayer, as we talk about, the economy of the game. The business model could be a challenge as well. And you have also some specificity of digital games. Like in general, what we see is you need to come up with a strong solo/campaign mode, because you can't assume that from day one you have enough people to play, to join multiplayer games in the lobby and have fun. So, and I think some people want to train and see the solo mode as a way to become better, and then they feel more ready to play against advanced players in multiplayer. So it's a lot of challenge in different aspects. AI is one of the most difficult one, I would say, because so you want to serve, you want to make the fan of the board game very happy. The people who have dreamt of playing a digital version of Scythe or Terraforming Mars for a long time. So, and these people, some of them are very experts. So you need to make sure that they don't win every time and the win ratio is well balanced. But on the other hand, you also want to convince and seduce other players. The game are on Steam, so you have players of strategy games that could be interested in, having their hands on Scythe, and the same for Terraforming Mars. All the games on the Mars theme that you could find on Steam, like Surviving Mars, or many of them. Right. The player of these games could also, and hopefully will be the players of Terraforming Mars. So it's ongoing challenges that we have every day, and I think the more the depth and the complexity of the game from the moment you start to developing it on digital is what is great. And is what we like, because it's a real challenge and it's not obvious, and you have to spend enough time. That's why it takes months for us to develop this game. We involve a lot the fan. So we as you know, we run beta. We also have a Discord channel, and we get a lot of help from the players that give us some recommendations, some advice about the different version of the games that they can access and they can try, which is great. I think it's part of the process to get the feedback from the players. Yeah, it's a difficult process, but we love it.
Yeah, I think we love the results, so keep working on it.
Oh yeah. You've mentioned it a lot, but like you called how Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride are coming to the Switch and PS4 respectively. Will we be not only seeing more titles from Asmodee Digital coming to home consoles, but are we going to start hearing more of these announcements coming out of like E3, maybe video game conventions, as opposed to board game centered ones like Gen Con?
We have a presence on both board game and video games because we belong to the board game industry, but also we belong to the video game industry. So we use the two categories of events to make announcements. So I can tell you that at Gen Con there will be announcements. So hopefully you will attend Gen Con this year and you will see new things. And I hope you will like what you're going to see and hear.
We'll be there.
And it's the same. We have a big event in Germany. It's the second largest video game show, maybe the first in terms of attendance, is called Gamescom. It takes place every year in Germany, and we're going to make some announcement there. And it's important that we also have some visibility and make sure that the players find out about our new titles. So we have it both ways, I would say. So,
it's very, very exciting. It is interesting that you're kind of in between those two worlds. You in a way, it's nice because you get to be present at more events, but I'm sure also maybe a little bit more work for you.
And I think the challenge are different. For instance, so it's not going to happen at Gen Con, unfortunately, this year, but at Spielessen, another small board game show you may have heard of. There's going to be, for the first time ever, on Asmodee booth, some official PS4 demo console and Switch demo console.
Wow.
So, and I'm very excited and curious about hearing and what the players are going to say and to do, because for me it's a kind of symbol, showing console board game in the middle of a hall where people come to play a physical board game. So, but it will be a symbol that there is no frontier anymore, and there is physical and digital mixed together. So I'm really excited to experience that this year in Spielessen.
Yeah, we will be looking forward to that stuff.
Yeah, and on the other way around, on video game show, it's great for us also because we will be showing game on console, for instance, on PC, but we want to show the physical board game too, so that it's a way for the players to find out about the physical game. And sometimes they know only the digital game. We have regularly comments from players saying, "Oh, I didn't know that Splendor exists as a physical board game," or same for Ticket to Ride or Carcassonne, which is great because and we want to give the opportunity to the players attending video game events to find out that there is also a physical board game. That's another positioning and other objective that we have at video game show.
Yeah, that's very interesting coming from the world that we do, because of course we definitely know all that they're all board games. So, but yeah, that's funny to think about. One of the upcoming titles that you guys are working on is the Lord of the Rings living card game online.
Yes,
and I think that's really interesting because whereas often with the digital board games, you see more or less one-to-one board to digital adaptation. This one seems to be kind of adapting more specifically towards a video game style format. that. Could you talk a little bit about what makes this one stand out from your other titles?
So Lord of the Rings Living Card Game is inspired by and at the same time an adaptation of the board game from FFG. So if you look at the game and what the game will be, and it will be available as early access at the end of August. Mm-hmm. The game, the digital adaptation, use cards and concept from the tabletop game, but it's not a literal translation. We want to be clear that, it's not going to be a one-to-one copy paste, whatever you call it. Obviously there are common elements, but we have to make sure that this game on Steam will create retention, and people will want to play again and again, and they don't feel redirected to the physical card game. So that's why when we decided to develop the game, we from the very beginning we say it's gonna be inspired by the board game, and it's gonna be an adaptation and not a one-to-one translation.
It's very interesting.
So this segment card game on Steam is very competitive, very crowded. You have huge board card game IP. And we wanted also to differentiate ourselves with a game which has more narrative content, which is really campaign-based, where the solo mode is central and not PvP-based, when you have to compete against each other. Mm-hmm. So this was another editorial direction that we wanted to develop from the very beginning, to make sure that we will not come up on the market with a copy of existing card game. Yeah.
Right. And in particular, I thought what I was also really curious about this is you mentioned before, like sometimes you'll buy the ticket to ride, as you said, and maybe you can get a code for the digital version. But in essence, it's just the two games. But for this, there's the Lord of the Rings, the limited collector's edition, which actually comes with different unique digital goodies, whether it's packs or icons, as well as special physical cards that are unique to that collector's edition. Yep. Did you actually have a say in this when they're making this special edition? And do you think this might be a possibility for other games of sort of unique collector's editions that might come with unique physical and digital items?
Obviously, we have a complete vision of all the contents that exist within one board game IP, so to say, and we want to make sure that we balance the content between physical and digital, but we don't want to mix everything. So it's I would say part of a strategy and well thought, to please the players and to make sure that they feel rewarded if they buy a collector edition and they pay more and they want to get more content, which is great, or if they play a lot the digital games, they maybe have a reward on the digital or possibly on the physical edition. We are, there are many variations that are possible that you can cross-promote or cross-reward. It's just a question of making sure to have a clear messaging and a clear strategy in terms of content, exclusive content you want to bring to the players. So there are many possibilities. We want to go step by step and not giving too many to physical board game player or too much content to digital players. So, and in this case, the content is so rich for Lord of the Rings that we will go step by step. I would say.
Keep it fair.
We just thought it was very interesting because there's plenty of collector's editions in the video game market that are usually just a toy in addition to the game. But it's sort of interesting how this has both. This comes with stuff for the digital, and you can play the physical game as well, which is almost you get two games in one. So we thought that was a bit interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been talking about The Lord of the Rings Online, which is being managed by Fantasy Flight Interactive.
Yeah. Yes.
And then there's also the upcoming Mansions of Madness Mother's Embrace, which is being developed by Lucky Hammer. And I was wondering if you could explain what your relationship is like with these other companies or other divisions and how you all interact with each other to collaborate and create these games exactly.
Okay, so at Asmodee Digital, what we have been working on in the last two years is to build a network of development partners, so studio like Lucky Hammer, but we are working with 12 different partners like them, which perfectly understand the board game. First, they are passionate about board games as we are, that they are also professional in developing video games, mobile, PC, console. And they understand our work of adapting from physical to digital and all the challenges that we mentioned earlier. And Lucky Hammer is one of our most, how can I say, we've been working with them for a long time. They have a great understanding about the players, about the relationship that we have built with them and how we can evolve and all the challenges that we have when we develop a game. So it's a question of people first. Passion, I would say, and expertise, and this is the way that we will find and work and establish a long-term relationship with these development studios.
Yeah, I imagine that it is a fun challenge to get everybody together on the same page for projects like that.
Yeah.
In particular, I'm very excited for this Mansion of Madness, as it's not just we're bringing Mansion of Madness into a digital version, but it's really taking the universe and building a game around it. And this isn't the first time you've done that. You did this with Catan Stories, where it's more of a text adventure in the Catan universe. Should we expect to see more spin-offs like these that are more of taking that universe and adapting something new in there instead of just a digital version of the board game that they're from?
Yeah, definitely. We have two directions in our roadmap. The first one is the digital adaptation of physical board game with some tweaks and enhancement changes that are necessary. The other direction would be to create video games based on the universe, on characters, artistic directions, and most of the time on the universe. We think it makes sense to have this approach because we know that the players that play digital board game, also are interested in adventure games, strategy games, RPG, action games for some of them. Mm-hmm. And because we think the universe and even a mechanic could be strong enough to start, from this as a foundation of a project and build a game out of it. So, and that's how the Mansion of Madness Mother Embrace project came to life, because thanks to the depth of the Lovecraft universe, the imaginary, the awareness, the popularity, and proof of that there are many other video games based on the Lovecraft universe, which are going to be launched in the next coming months. And this is why we say, yeah, it makes sense, to work, to start developing an adventure game on, based on the Mansion of Madness universe.
Yeah, it's one I know we're really looking forward to. Really excited to see more experimental games like that. Yeah.
We are targeting adventure games players, of course, the board game players, and the people who are into the Lovecraft universe. It will be also very exciting to hear and to read and to get the feedback from all these players, because it's a brand new proposition for them. It's not a board game, it's an adventure game, but it's not an adventure game, in a universe like Resident Evil or heroic fantasy, or you see. So it's gonna be a very new content and very new type of adventure games. That's why we are so excited. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. We're big fans of all that stuff. So I would love to. We could definitely sit here and really dive deep into Mansions of Madness, but we're just about getting to the end of this show. So I'm gonna finish up with a couple of bonus round questions for you. First, is there a current trend in the tabletop gaming industry that you're particularly excited about, or is there maybe one that you're worried about? Do you have an answer to either of those questions, and could you elaborate a little bit about what that might be?
I'm excited about what everyone calls the renaissance of board game, and I think I really love hearing and seeing people playing more and more board game and having fun when everything tends to become digital and mobile and everything dematerialized, so to say. Coming from other entertainment industries, I'm really I think this is great, the creativity and the fact that almost everyone could, create a board game. If you see the success of the Kickstarter campaigns for board game, I think it's great for the creativity. And it's today it's like I was talking about the music industry, but the music industry has experienced the same thing. Is the access to creation to production is easier now, and it looks for me to be the same and growing bigger for the board game industry, which is great. And Kickstarter has been a fantastic accelerator for that. So this is a good trend. I have no specific concerns about the evolution of the board games, as long as you have always more and more people interested in new experience of getting entertained. This is great. So yeah, it's new, it's different.
Yeah, that's good. That's a positive outlook on it. And finally, can you recommend one game? It could be physical or digital, if you'd like, that you're playing right now, or just a game that you think that more people out there should be playing.
Oh, on which platform?
Any, up to you. Grab bag.
Okay. It depends. If it's a game related to a board game, so I'm playing a lot of Game of Thrones edition of Catan. No surprise. Being a fan of the board game and being a fan of the series, I'm playing a lot at the moment. Some really big video games, such as FORTNITE, for instance, or FIFA or it's because I have kids now, so I have to find games that I can play with them. And I've been playing a lot of Concept. I love the game Concept. From Roblox. And digital board game. I've played recently Armello. You know Armello?
We have not played it ourselves.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept because it's a video game that is not related to physical board games, but takes mechanics and principle of a board game.
Yeah. It's always cool when there's the hybrids like that.
Yeah.
Do your kids play any of the games that you guys produce, or do they give you feedback ever?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
That's good. It's good to have a little in-house testing like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Philippe, for joining us all the way from Paris and working with us in the time zones and all that. Before we let you go, can you let people know where they can follow you or just Asmodee Digital in general to keep up with all the new games you guys are pumping out?
Yeah, it's we have a website, we have a Facebook page, a Twitter account, Instagram account, Discord, a Twitch channel, everything that all the channels that exist, we are on them, so you can follow us there.
Gotta be everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, every platform that exists, follow Asmodee Digital on those. I know the Scythe just went into early access on Steam, so that's cool. People should check that out. Otherwise, if you want to follow us, Roll for Crit, you can find us at rollforcrit.com or our YouTube channel for more interviews and stuff like this. Thanks again for joining us, and until our next show, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Will.
And this has been Roll for Crit Spotlight.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more board game content. Every little bit helps.
Please, we gotta eat.